next time I know, I should just send me one hundred.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
We are going to get started with tonight's community forum regarding school year 23-24 budget. Tonight presenting with me will be Mr. Joe Sokolovic, one of our Board of Education members, and he is going to review the ground rules for this evening.
Yeah, a lot of information to go tonight. Tonight's information is about finance and executive, which is one of the questions that should be covered here. We have a lot of materials to get through. If you kindly answer questions on what's been presented so far, if you have another question about what has not been presented, please hold it till that chance. If actually, if we don't have to answer any questions you have, we'll get back to you. So I can figure some email address to contact us later. We'll be sure to get back to you and answer your questions.
Along with Mr. Sokolovic, we have Ms. Bobby Brown, who's our chairperson as well. So one of the most important things reviewing what our goals will be for this evening. So we want to make sure that there is a structurally balanced budget. That means that we need to build a comprehensive financial plan that is comprised of all of our funding sources that ensures real cost management and the most effective educational program possible. Goal number 2 is to have a school-based budgeting model. All right, that is to maintain and enhance the school-based budget model grounded in empowerment and accountability at the school level. We need to make sure we know what we're doing and what we're doing with it. Fiscal accountability. To ensure fiscal accountability through continued integrity, transparency, reporting, and systems management. And lastly, comprehensive fiscal management. To engage in a comprehensive fiscal management encompassing analysis, internal control, and innovation in order to secure resources, optimize resource utilization, and attain fiscal stability. This slide that you're seeing before you is about our district enrollment. If you look very closely, it shows us the trends from 16-17 through projected numbers for 23-24. So over the course of several years, with the exception of this one, we have lost approximately 1,600 students. We have seen an uptick in enrollment this school year, and this data is important to note that it comes from October 1st, 2022, where we were at 19,133 students. Currently, to date, we are over 19,300 students. So we are seeing a slow increase as well. One of the things also to note here is when we look at our special education and ELL or multilingual populations, they are currently rising. So for special education students, there has been a growth as of 10/1/22 of 135 students. The number underneath for ELL or multilingual students says that we are up 618 students, but that was as of 10/1. Currently today, we are up 1,000 students in regards to multilingual. 1,000. We started this year at 4,200 students. Currently, we are at 5,203.
There's something important to note about the district enrollment. While our overall numbers have gone down for the last 5 years, this year they have increased, and next year they're projected to increase again. So we got to educate more students, but these dollars are already set from last year. So we got more students and that's money to do people. Last year, I think that 2,015,000 increase.
In addition to that, one thing we do need to take note is with that increased enrollment, we also have to be able to maintain all of our sites. So we have all of our schools across districts. I said, we want to be able to make sure that we do that with the dollars that we have. This slide is extremely important. This is about the net current expenditures per pupil. What that means is that these are the dollars that we are receiving for each of our students per year to be able to educate them in Bridgeport Public Schools. So this is the report from January 2022. I said, and we are listed with our comparative districts, Hartford, Stanford, New Haven, and Waterbury. And if you notice, the number that we were listed at was 16,954 students. So that's what they were, not students, student dollars. That's what they were telling us that we were receiving to educate all of our scholars. And one of the things that's really important to note, when you look at all of the districts, we were grossly underfunded, even compared to our DERGs. Okay, Bridgeport on this specific list is 145 out of 166 districts in the state of Connecticut.
The important also to note is that Bridgeport is the second lowest spending per pupil in our peer districts. Only, Waterbury is lower than us. Yes, only Waterbury is lower than us by $153 per student. And it's important to note that Waterbury gets significantly less from the state than we do, but the state I close, they make it up with the local tax dollars. 102 million versus which was 2 million.
Now, if you truly do the math with that, and you did based upon our current population that we have, we would note that we still be underfunded by approximately $90 million, even at this number. It is not enough to be able to educate our scholars.
Yeah. Also important about that number, if you look at the NCE at the top, it has the most important aspect. Bottom of the slide. So I go to the bottom of the slide and you see the explanation. NCE including ESSER grades. This is important because when comparing numbers, we need to compare apples to apples. Comparison to last year, if you had an extra $30 million from last year, that difference is due to ESSER funds being included in the calculation. They were not counted last year, so that's why it looks like there's such a big divergence between this year and last year's funding. These monies will expire at the beginning of 2024-25 school year or so in the middle. That means we will not be able to count that money unless the city, state, or federal government step in. So
Mr. Sokolovich was referencing there is a great difference between what's on this report from January 22 of the $16,954 and what we received on the January 22 report, which showed, January 23 report, which shows us that we were funded at $18,967. That is where ESSER funds were included in our operating budget in the monies. And even with that, we were not equally funded. So that is what he was referencing there when he was talking about, you see the large difference. The difference here is the monies here were included with all grant funding as well. So it includes ESSER, it includes grants that we receive from the state, and any other funding sources are allocated within this number. So on the slide, you see again, our neighbors that are listed out here that show us where we were funded. In Bridgeport, we had a budget of $262 million here that is listed, okay? And one of the things that's really important to note here is it shows alliance. So all of our districts are alliance districts, and we are identified based upon our performance in academic scores. If you notice, Bridgeport only received $15,434. I said, if you look at all of the other districts, inclusive of Hartford, New Haven, Stanford, and Waterbury, who were well overfunded. But we don't have a reason, and we don't know why we only received that $15,434 there, which is grossly different from our neighbors. One of the things also to note is when you look at Bridgeport, the city's share of the money, we only received 27.9%. But when you look at like a Hartford, a Waterbury, or a Stanford, our numbers greatly change.
Yes, it's definitely, worthy to again, look, I'm gonna keep pointing out Waterbury, because Waterbury comes to education at a much higher level. If you go and look at the difference, that Waterbury managed to spend $8.7 million more on education than the city of Bridgeport, and that's being less funded. If you go up to the Bridgeport, you'll see Bridgeport gets 72.1% of its money from the state. City gets 27.9. If you drop down to Waterbury, you'll see it gets 39.4% of the budget. Education budget comes from the city, and 60.6 from the state. This is very important because Waterbury, if you look at Waterbury's buildings, they receive a significantly amount less than the city of Bridgeport because from the state, yet they managed to spend $8 million more. But I think that's made up on by local city tax dollars. So if Waterbury could do it, the city of Bridgeport could do it.
So some of you are asking for hard copies of the actual presentation. We did not make copies of those here. It is on our district website. And if you'd like to leave your name and email for us to email it to you, we can do that as well. Like the acknowledgement of Keisha Casimir, one of our board members who just entered for this one. Special education. So this slide specifically talks about the percent of our total budget that we're spending on special education services, 26.14%. All right. But the total dollars spent for us school year 21-22 was $95,930,000. All right. Percent of our general fund at 30.12%. All right. These grants include our IPA grant, which is approximately $5 million, and it also funds several of our support positions for special education, like therapeutic support facilitators and paraprofessional positions. If you notice, the bottom part of the slide talks about the expenditures for in district. So that $75 million are for what we support within the district, and the cost for out of district to be able to support students who need to go out of district to get regional services are at 20.8. State excess cost grant for reimbursement is at $6.2 million, and it's capped at 18.12% for that year. Do we have questions about any of the information? This slide or anything at this time? So this next slide specifically talks about fiscal challenges, and these are things in regards to cost control, things that are extremely important to be able to run Bridgeport Public Schools that are beyond our control. Utility costs, our legal services, transportation is a huge one here. which talks about, efficient routing for our scholars, and all special education services that are related to that. Special education services and ELL or multilingual services, which is a huge and growing population, access coverage for teachers and certified staff, and benefits, the escalated costs there. So these are all costs that feed into our budget revenue that are beyond any control of Bridgeport Public Schools.
And when you think about the fiscal challenges, you gotta think about on our level, we can compare it to our household. We make a certain amount of money every year. Sometimes we get raises, sometimes we don't. When our rent goes up and of course the gas goes up and we don't get a raise, what do? We cut back elsewhere. School system is in the same situation. We cannot make any real money, unlike the city, the state, the federal government. We cannot borrow money. We cannot spend money that we do not have. It's illegal for us to do so. So if we cannot have enough money coming in, we've got to cut back somewhere to live for money. Yeah.
This slide, again, talks about some of those costs that are beyond our control and what we are spending and what we have spent. So when you look at transportation, our contract, we projected $23 million, right? So on the direct right side, it breaks down how much money that we're spending for regular bus on a daily basis and what that costs us overall throughout the course of the year. All right. 3 buses per field trip for our scholars we go out and supporting within the community. Copier and print services that we need to be able to support our curriculum and making sure we have those things around $1.2 million. Substitute staff and service. So when teachers are out, the certified staff members are out and we're searching to be able to support that $4.5 million. And energy usage, as you all know, very similar to what we used to call the big shears. Utility costs are going up, which is really impacted. So right now we're projected at $7.6 million to be able to cover. So these are annual expenditures, things that we have to be able to spend to be able to host and have food every day for our salary. So what does that mean? That means we have a huge bill that we are responsible for covering with little resources to be able to. As you see, transportation is here again. And why is that coming up again? Because it's such a huge expense for us. It talks about the dollar amount in regards to regular busing, athletics for our high school basketball. All right, we're also responsible, if you notice, for charter and parochial schools. All right, they're not public schools. We are responsible for being able to provide them. I said special education is at $14 million. All right. You see special ed for charter schools as well. All right, that 0.3 million. All right, parochial, non-public, 0.6 million. So these numbers add up that are not contributing to everyday what we are doing for our Bridgeport Public Schools, the things that we are still fiscally responsible for. See the total numbers here projected for fiscal year 23 at $23.4 billion. But the more realistic number, according to our chief financial officer, is $24 million because of the increase in special education transportation routes that we will be seeking out the next 2 years to meet the needs of our population. Another expense is our core curriculum renewal. So this is everything that we need to be able to provide to our scholars to give them that core curriculum. So as you see, we have literacy here. We have our social studies, mathematics, and science. So these things that we have to do and that we're mandated to do to be able to make sure that we're able to educate our scholars. If you notice that the last line it says done, so a lot of this has been replenished already through the use of extra funds. But again, that's only for a period of time. If you look, it tells you the initial year that we engaged in these contracts. So, it gives you the term contract there, but we will have to come back and readdress these things in the upcoming here, and also with the replenishment of consumables. What are consumables? Those are the workbooks that students are using, those things that they get to take home at the end of the year. We have to replenish those every single year, and that comes out of the budget as well.
And we gotta be very, very careful when we're on this plan of 6 years, 4 years for cycles for purchasing. I don't know how many people had children in the school system before we were on the internet, but we couldn't buy books sometimes because we couldn't afford them. And the books were tattered and outdated. Even with this electronic version, we've got literacy, history, and they got a 4 year cycle. As you know, we're in a world that changes very, very fast. So we would have to wait to buy a new cutting edge curriculum until the end of the cycle because the money's not there for it, or we would have to accelerate the cycle and cut somewhere else. I don't know, let's go back to those days where books are ruined and our kids don't have access to them. Current day materials. I don't think any other districts, except maybe a couple in the city, in the state, have to think about, should we buy our kids the up-to-date materials, or should we make them walk 2 miles to school before they get it? Those are the decisions where basically students are going to show up.
This slide is highlighting our district budget from 22-23. It's chunked into 4 different pieces. The city share, which is the money that we received at 27.9%, and we also received an additional $2 million at that time. The state ECS, which is at 72.1%, all right? And we have the additional 15,434 that came through the lines as well. And then at the bottom, you notice 50% of it at the bottom is all grants. And that's very important to highlight because grants are things that we get through either state or federal government that provide additional supports. But grants are ever changing. So the dollar amount is not set, but we don't know what we're actually going to be receiving. And grants should not be used to be able to provide essential services for our students. However, we rely heavily upon those. If you notice at the bottom, it talks about Title 1, Title 2, and Title 3 with the attached dollar amount for that. It talks about IDEA, all right, which is our federal law in regards to supporting special education students, all right, and IDEA pre-K as well. We have state grants like for priority, bilingual, and magnet that are also extremely very flexible. And if you notice, these are things that we have to rely on to be able to make ends meet with our scholars.
And I just want to reiterate on some of the community partners, community agencies that do look at our budget and do look at our resources and become partners with the Bridgeport Board of Education. This gives them an opportunity to go after grant money to be able to do some of those extra services that our students are receiving. And a lot of this was really heightened during the pandemic when we noticed a lot of resources were lacking within our school district. A lot of the community partners came together with their different grant funds and were able to fund certain parts for the students to be able to have those extra support services. And as we mentioned during this particular budget cycle, keep in mind that when the fiscal cliff does come and these grant monies do run out, there is a potential that they can, other individuals can begin to find sources and be able to partner with our district, but that's not going to hold the district on its 2 feet alone. So that's why the funding source and grant money is important, but also to be able to stand on our own 2 feet for once is what the Bridgeport Board of Education is looking for, especially for the schools.
I just wanted to notate, to talk about grants a little bit further, look at first at the priority grant. Currently, our priority grant is funding clerical workers in various high schools, all right, instructors at VMA, teachers for prep advancement. What's prep advancement? Those are specials, all right, for students. So your music, your art, your library, your PE. Grants office personnel, so the people who are working on writing the grants to be able to secure so that we're able to operate accordingly, as well as bilingual personnel and ELL teachers. So this is not an addition to, this is the bare minimum. So here, when I'm looking at this slide, again, this highlights our state and city share that we reviewed before, but if you notice that we only have a 0.78% change from last year to moving forward, all right? So only it's less than 1%. So how many people, when you think about your households and the income that you receive, have less than 1% of a change and be able to make ends meet? That's what we're dealing with as a school district, less than 1%. So on this specific slide, we talk about the average percent of growth over the last 8 years. So on average, we have grown 1.12% in 8 years. In 8 years. How are we able to fund our schools with 1.12% over 8 years? With our growing needs, with our growing populations, with our aging buildings. How do we do that? So as the grants came 3 years ago, we received $144.9 million. And all of these monies need to be expended by June 30th, 2024. So what are they serving? What type of services are they giving to us through this? What are we using it for? All right, so we have the Director of Early Childhood Education. So that's someone who works with our pre-K population to oversee all of that information that we have to do with when it comes down to NEAS, NIAC, and all the different pieces there. Assistant principal positions, all right, are funded here. Elementary academic support instructors, we call them easy teachers. Those are teachers who are there to support literacy for grades K to 3, and that is part of the right to read legislation at the state level. All of our teachers are funded through that currently. Guidance counselors. We know that our students have more SEL needs now than ever, and we're helping support with that. Social workers. ELL students, which is our Welcome Center, and ESL teachers. We have currently 6 teachers that we are funding through that. Building substitutes. Kindergarten paraprofessionals. Prior to the pandemic, we had eliminated those. There were no paraprofessionals in kindergarten. And currently, even now with the additional funds, we only have half-day kindergarten paraprofessionals to be able to support those students and those teachers in those classrooms. Teacher leaders, peer support, CISOPs, devil's expert. Who are they? Teacher leaders are the individuals who are in the buildings who are helping support their peers. So they receive stipends to be able to help do with professional development, to help with lesson planning, and to help push out some of the initiatives that we have in the district. Peer support, so that comes in different forms as well. We have our digital expert, somebody to help with that piece as well. But these are all teacher positions. Universal partnerships for cross-certification programs, like the peer to teachers. Extended day programs, school specific and FAME. If anybody's ever heard of FAME before, they're about to do a wonderful program in March, but it's all about incorporating the arts and literacy and all those things so students can have the opportunity to be able to engage and perform appropriately. Summer programs like ERS and ESY. ERS is for early reading summer. So a lot of students in grade K to 3 who don't meet literacy benchmarks get an opportunity to be able to go to ERS. It's funded there. ESY, that's the extended school year. All right, that's for our special education scholars who need some more support in the summertime. All right, ELL and 21st century STEM. All right, so, there's a program that we've engaged in to try to expose more of our children to, our STEM program. We're paying for that out of ESSER funds. Curriculum and instruction, which is professional development for our teachers, and the renewal that we talked about previously. Technology renewal. We all know that during the pandemic, we went to one for technology. A lot of that came out of our ESSER funds, right? Operating budgets and supplements, special education. Right now, we have 8 resource teachers, 8 that are funded per year, with an additional 4 self-contained teachers as well. And these are essential services. Effective school solutions. These are therapeutic services to help reduce out-of-district placements. There are several schools across the district. They are funded here. Self-contained classrooms, right? And teachers, just teachers in general. Safe and healthy environments, facility repairs, inspection, testing, all of this has come out of this money that is going away. And we've grown at 1.12% over 8 years. So my understanding is this.
If you look at the number on the top of the slide, these services cost $144.9 million per year. These monies are coming out of ESSER funds. Once the ESSER funds run out, these $144 million in services can no longer be affordable. So what's going to happen to them? More than likely, they're going to have to be cut if funding is not received. Also important to note that if these disappear, we're not even talking about operating budget yet. We're talking about services we've added since 2019. That's what funding is. So we're also hiring, we're hiring, but the ESSER funds are hiring the fiscal clip that we're approaching people who are underfunded, with some positions getting funded through here instead of the operating budget, which have been done to a certain extent. So we're facing a real trouble. That's what we're trying to part of this. Real trouble.
So what is our request for school year 23-24? We need an additional $26.5 million on top of what we have this year, for a total of $288.5 million to be able to operate. Again, if you look at this diagram here, it breaks down everything in regards to where things fall, but it's in addition. So just in that 1 year alone, from 2022-23 to 23-24, we've gone up. Costs, basic operating costs have gone up $26.5 million. So these are essential needs. These are non-discretionary things that we need to have at all given times that are part of this money, part of that $26.5 million minimum that we need. So collective bargaining agreements, those are for certified staff, whether they be administrators or teachers or support staff that have gone up with approximation of $5.3 million for next year. Health insurance. It's projected at 6% growth. So that would cost us $3.3 million. MERF, which is also one of our benefits for our non-certified staff members, $1 million. Transportation costs, $1.1 million. Utilities, $1.7 million. Then we have special education projected costs, which is including out-of-district, that's what that OOD stands for, $1.8 million. Internal Service Fund, $6.5 million. Internal Service Fund, $2.5 million. Vacancy and bill factor, $4 million. In reserve, $300,000. So when you talk about what that vacancy and fill factor, what does that mean? So that means that for every allocation that we have for every school, based on the number of students, we have a certified staff member that needs to be present or needs to be hired. So we have all of those listed. However, we are not successful in being able to attain everyone to be able to fill those vacancies. So that provides a saving for us. We do not wish to have the savings. However, we are struggling. We are struggling with getting the teachers to come in, which is not unique to Bridgeport. It's not unique to Connecticut. It is a nationwide situation. I went to a conference, and had several conversations with several superintendents across the nation who are talking about the same thing. That there are teacher shortages, even in some of the highest paid across the country. People are leaving the profession at an alarming rate, and we're trying to figure out why. Is it money? Because we don't get into it for money. We don't come here to be able to become rich. We come here to touch lives. We come here to work with children and impact them. So why? We have to figure out the why, and then we need to get the resources to secure so that we're able to allow, when we do attract those teachers and retain those teachers, that we can provide them the services that they need to be able to support our children, but not at 1.12%.
Yeah, important to note on this portion of, we're only at, well, it looks like you're asking for a lot of money from the city, just over $0.4 million. That, that equates to $667 additional per student. $370, $667 per student. Now, if you look at the slide we're on, you recall earlier, I think we discussed that we got $2,015,000 from the state and city combined last year. Our wages for our staff increased by $5,300,000. This is what I'm talking about when we talk about the independence. We didn't have to cut any teachers because we currently have the money to absorb this raise. But for it, ESSER fund and internal service fund, we would not. We would have $3 million in cuts. But that line alone exceeding our budget.
This slide highlights position reductions that have taken place since 1617 here in the city of Bridgeport. So if you take a look at those, you see kindergarten periods were eliminated in years 16, 17. Homeschool coordinators, which were liaisons between the school and the home to help with PAC presentations and doing workshops for parents, were eliminated. Math instructional coaches eliminated. Guidance counseling at certain schools were eliminated. School resource officers, university interns, and people from our facilities department and full-time staff from district office, a total of 9, eliminated. And that was in 16, 17, prior to our fiscal cliff. 17, 18, a similar pattern continued. Literacy coaches, people who help support our teachers, our students, with attaining the fundamental skills to be able to read at grade level, eliminated. Career craftsman program, eliminated. Nurses, eliminated. Attendance liaisons to try to re-engage disengaged students, eliminated. Parent center, eliminated. Security guards, administrators, or your principals, your assistant principals, eliminated. Facilities, the people who keep our buildings going, eliminated. School volunteer office, and again, district office. When they're talking about district office, those are your assistant principal, your assistant superintendents, your executive directors, your directors of departments who need to help lead the work. Eliminated. So at the end of the day, over the course of all these years, we have lost $243
positions. What will be left to cut? We've cut all the excess. What will be left? Our teachers, our custodians, our clerical? What's left?
And when I first joined the board, one of the first actions we had to take was budget cut. That was the 2018-19 school year. We cut 10 math focus, 10 each, 10 Lysol, special officers, we cut 2. Harrison, clericals, we were covering 3. Administrators, vice principals at the time, 4. Buildings, we cut 3 jobs, and the school volunteers, we cut 2 jobs. District office, we cut 5 jobs. We moved down to 1 school day. Now, you can imagine, this was under, I can't remember the exact amount, under $20 million in budget cuts. You go back to that last page of the asset funds, we talk about $140 million. So that's where $20 million in budget. What's $140 million?
So on this slide, which is closing the gap, what does that look like? So it highlights the city share, we need a request of $12.4 million to be able to equate to a 1.06% growth over the last 9 years, all right? And city, 1.5, state, 1.5 million, all right? So we're looking at utilizing some of the funds that we have in our internal service fund to be able to withdraw the difference. We're looking at taking out $7.1 million, okay? Then also and that would be from the reserve from fiscal year 21. From fiscal year 22, that has yet to be determined. From grants, we utilizing $1 million, which is from the art ESSER, which is in our final year. And then we'll apply an additional $1 million from Title I for eligible services that meet the needs. And then gap resolution strategy, which is $3.5 million. This includes vacancy and vacancy coverage savings. So this is what we're looking to do to be able to close the gap when we are not equally funded yet again. In order to close our budget, as we have in prior years, we will have to look at position consolidation. So in alignment with registration projections, so we'll have to look at what's going on at schools, how many students are enrolled, and might look at consolidating some of our classes. Position conversion after attrition, meaning once somebody leaves the district, will we be able to fill the position? If not, will we be able to eliminate it or transfer the responsibilities onto someone else who already is working within the district? All right, changing, they gave examples of changing 12-month assistant principal vacancy to a 10-month vacancy to save on that 2 months, all right? Program adjustments to generate savings, curriculum and technology renewal, utilization of grants in lieu of funds, and deficit provision mode. So we have to look at position control, procurement control, and internal controls to be able to find the missing funds. But at the end of the day, it all equates to the same. We are underfunded, but we don't have enough to be able to fund Bridgeport Public Schools and the needs of our students.
It's one of my biggest pet peeves about budgeting presented. The word consolidation means to shrink, to lessen, to cut. When we consolidate positions, we're cutting positions. We're consolidating schools, closing schools. Consolidation are cuts. Nice and clean way of saying cuts, not to scare people to a lot of cuts. We need to be scared. I would better be not scared.
Here, it just talks about different, deficit prevention modes, so position control. So district office vacancies are reviewed to reassess and regenerate savings. All right, so for instance, effective 3/1/24, employment of new teacher hires will cease, meaning it will end, except in shortage areas. Long-term substitutes will cover those vacant positions to be able to save monies. The district derives savings when vacant positions are covered by substitute personnel due to a lack of a certified or qualified candidate. Procurement control. Enforcement is in place to ensure orders are processed for service supplies that are mandated or essential only at an economic cost. Meaning if we need something, we have to find the cheapest bidder to be able to provide that service or that material. Otherwise, it will not be considered. Internal controls. Restrictions and approval workflows and cost-effective practices are applied rigorously to all services, personnel and non-personnel, to make sure that we're getting everything that we possibly can out of every dollar. So what does the operating budget fund? Principals and assistant principals, school clericals, teachers, special education, and talented and gifted, paraprofessionals for special education, and student services like psychologists, social workers, speech and language, hearing impaired, and occupational therapy. Oftentimes people forget about those services. If a child is identified and has an IEP, and is receiving those special education services, those support services that I just mentioned have to be part of the plan to be able to support those children. As we have a need, a greater need for special education services, we have a greater need for student services to support those students as well. Guidance counselors, athletics program, nurses, security officers, transportation, legal services, curriculum renewal, high school credit recovery, SPED extended year program, and adult education. Aside from that, superintendent, executive directors, human resources, data management, instruction and professional development, student counseling and parent partnerships, facilities, food and nutrition, technology, and finance. This is what comes out of that operating budget. So when you look at all of the essential pieces and the supplemental things that we were receiving through ESSER, a lot of them sounded the same. We didn't get a lot of extra. We were paying for our essential services. And now that's going away.
This is what I discussed before. These are the operating budgets. If you look at go back to page 2 of this video. If you look at the numbers highlighted in blue, those are numbers that we got to pay, no matter what. And those are the numbers you look at when you look at the fact that we only got $2,015,000 increase last year. You take that number, it's about $16 million. It's contracted by $2,015,000. And there you got our cuts that was come from the operating budget. And you know, we cut but it's about $13 million in cuts right there that are current. That's what I mean by the hidden deficit. It's not hit yet. People don't see it. They don't feel it yet. It's there. You know.
So this slide just highlights the components by percent and amount. All right, so in our budget, 68.9%, which is approximately $198 million is used for instruction. For instructional support, 0.2% at $625,000. Student support is 6.8% at $19 million. Administration is 0.9% at $2.4 million.
and administrative support services at 23.2% at 67 million, for a grand total of $288,648,516. The Bridgeport Board of Education, the Bridgeport Board of Education system relies on a variety of funding sources. Educational funding applicants should rely on a variety of advocacy tactics that's geared towards the specific goals being advocated for. It is important to understand how much the district needs to avoid cuts. Groups should understand and should come up with their, groups should avoid coming up with their own numbers to lower the district request. So we're saying that if this is the number that we're presenting before you, we want you to align with us, stand in unity with us, so we don't have a community with mixed messages when it comes to how much the district is in need of. This is harmful to our cause. We're coming to you with the number that's being presented before. All of our staff have put these numbers together. No one's sitting behind closed doors and just, picking numbers out of the hat. This is real data that we're providing. So whenever you're out there advocating, stand side by side with us and say the same message we're saying. It gives tactical approval to the people responsible for funding that it is acceptable for short changes that show for our students and eliminates the political pressure. So I'm going to summarize that up real quick. Whenever we don't say the same messages, those that have the power to give us money, they can make up their own idea of what funding should look like. We don't want that funding. Yeah, I hear you. We don't want that funding to be said differently. So when we advocate at City Hall, when we go to Hartford and we advocate, our message should be aligned. There shouldn't be two different things being said about what Bridgeport needs. And that's why we encourage parents and community leaders to come to our Board of Education meetings, hear from our CFO. She sits behind the screen, cute and small as can be, but she's giving you some raw data, some raw numbers. And we need those that are out here in the City Hall meetings at Hartford level, advocating and saying the same message, because it's very confusing when we have two different tones when we're approaching the budget. And we want you to understand that these groups and any group that's out in the community, groups should insist that any funding that goes directly to the NBR. I'm sorry, I really messed that up, and I'm going to turn it over to Joe because he can explain it a little bit better than I can.
A couple of points before that, when we're out advocating, if you're sitting in front of senators, we're advocating for federal. We're advocating for federal people to do what they need to do on their part. We hold the federal government responsible to the federal. We don't go to the federal and say, oh, the state's underfunding us. That allows the federal to say, oh, well, the state's underfunding. It allows them to pass the vote back and forth. So when you're advocating for federal issues, advocate for federal issues to focus on federal responsibility. Same goes for the state. Oh, we don't go for the state or as us, we go to the city and us. No, the state needs to step up, do its part, and be held responsible. We're not doing its part. Down to the city. We'll say the state what changes us, because in the great scheme of things, we're the second most funded on the state level. Most responsibility does fall on the city. City of Bridgeport underfunds us. We're the second most per pupil expenditure in the state. Again, we're the second lowest funded on a per pupil basis on the local level in the entire state of Connecticut. And that puts us at 168. That was 68 out of 60. And when we mentioned that we need to go to the MBR, we don't need one shots. We need sustainable growth. We need money we can count on. So if the city said, oh, we'll just make it a bus this year, that's not acceptable because that doesn't repeat next year.
And Joe touched about the federal side of it. I'm just going to go a little bit further down, and that's on another slide. The primary goal of advocacy should be to get steady, reliable source of increased funding in order to cover increasing costs, rather than fighting every year to keep our heads above water. So what we're all saying and what we're trying to say in general is that the cost will only increase. You see within the budget that Ms. Siegel has put together, that every time housing goes up, or water goes up, or food goes up, so do the costs of the district. So whatever we're talking about, I'll give you a perfect example, food costs. Right here in the district alone, food cost goes up, so now we have to pay for trucks that get the food, then the food that we pay for that goes on the student's table is also increased. Then we have to pay the workers, so it becomes a domino effect of who gets what and when they get it. The biggest part about what we also want you to understand is, this is not a point where the city points hands at the state and the state points hands at the city and then the board points hands at the city council. At the end of the day, we're all responsible. In one way or another, it is our job to make sure that we're properly advocating for funding. I'll give a perfect example. Quite a few of the board members have been up late at night, early in the morning while we're at work, and we're on calls with state and elected officials, trying to get them to understand that the formula is messed up. That the people that are supposed to be advocating for don't know what they're talking about. It is real. This is real. This is real. Just last week, we were advocating for, not advocating, we were speaking on a House bill. And then, just recently, Mr. Colvin represented the board, to speak on another bill. These are very important moments. And I love when we see the rooms filled, but it also breaks my heart when I don't see the room filled. Because these are the same individuals who are not here tonight that will come to our Board of Education meetings and wonder where the money comes. Well, we'll have a situation where we have to decide if we're going to bring students from Wilbercross or we're going to bring students to Hooker. That is where these issues come about, because we don't have teachers, we can't pay teachers, we don't have staff, we don't have the proper, we do have staff, but not enough staff, let me clear that. So these are some of the issues that we face, and it is so important that even if you in this room may not be an elected official, you as a parent have a job, have a duty. Rally your comrades, your community members together and bust down these doors at Board of Education meetings. Show up, speak your piece, but also I believe in the power of literacy and I believe in the power of reading. We have got to read. The words are on the paper. And this is a song before my time. The writing is on the wall. So the words are on the paper. The writing is on the wall. This document, and please go online. Please, see these documents. Come to us after. See how important it is that this stuff. We're not lying to you. None of us cannot lie for what we're receiving. We also are being trained to understand this. And I know there's a lot of numbers that are coming across to you tonight. Anything you don't understand, definitely, Ms. Perrin has been a great resource. Reach out to her. Reach out to the Board of Education members. Remember, do not say something that's not there. If we're advocating for 22.6 million or 26 million, is that what I remember? 26.5. Everybody stay with me. 26.5. One more time. 26.5. That's how I teach my kids. That is what we need to be saying. That is what they need to hear. And we're going to do a good job at the district level, making sure that we get this in English and Spanish and all other languages, that we can be able to share it, because they don't know what they don't know. But if we're telling you that this is what you need to know, please know.
Yeah, we told you all this now. In detail, we provided the audience, and we've got copies up front of all our legislators, federal, state, and local legal contacts. Ask them, give them the information you got here, and tell them what you're doing. They will give it to us. Tell them that's waiting for our from them. If they don't hear from you, they won't listen.
Well, what I'm gonna do is, Joe is nice about it. I'm gonna tell you who they are. So you'll know them by name, who you should contact, and then all of our board members' information is also on the website. So we have Senator Marilyn Moore, State Rep Christopher Rosario, State Rep Andre Baker, newly elected Fred G, State Rep, okay. We have Marcus Brown, State Rep. We have State Rep Steve Stashram State Rep Antonio Felipe, and Senator Karen Gaston. Those names, remember them, look on their website, call them, bombard them, connect with them, have lunch with them, whatever you want to do. Make sure you tell them we need how much?
26.5.
We need how much?
26.5.
One more time, we need how much?
26.5.
26.5 for our district to run well. And then we're gonna need them again for the following year because money goes away and it comes back when it comes back when we still need it. And then I'm gonna continue. Yep. The names are Senator Marilyn Moore, State Rep Chris Rosario, State Rep Andre Baker, State Rep Fred G, State Rep Marcus Brown, State Rep Steve Stasham, State Rep Antonio Felipe, and Senator Karen Gaston. Those are the individuals you need to see, and they're in this packet. And also our city council now. I hope it's bigger on your paper. The bigger, back to you. Give me 1 second, I'm gonna call their names too. It's bigger on this one. Sorry, I didn't bring my glasses. For city council, you got Scott Burns, George Cruz, Jeanette Heron, Michelle Lyons, Mary McBride Lee, Brad Hodges, Maria Valle, Maria Pereira, Matthew McCarthy, Tyler Mack, Rolanda Smith, Akeem Boyd, Amy Marie. Okay, that, I don't want to butcher it. We got, Rosalana Christie, Alfredo Castillo, the, city council president, which is Miss Ivy Neves, Samia Suleiman, and then our favorite, Ernie Newton. So please contact them. They have city council meetings on Mondays. I don't know exactly if it's every Monday, but please connect with them. Also, their information also on the website, the city of Bridgeport's website. You can email them, call them, talk to them, say your piece to them, tell them they need to help us get how much?
26.5.
How much?
26.5.
All right, and then last but not least, if you have any questions for Board of Education members, we work for you. So if you need to call us, email us, you can call us. So you have Chairman Brown, which is me. You have your financial chair, Mr. Sokolovich. You have Mr. Keisha Cashmere. You have Mr. Albert Benahan. You have Miss Christine Baptiste Perez. She's also in the meeting tonight, teaching and learning. So we juggle multiple hats over here. You have Mr. Lombard, Joseph Lombard. You have Miss Sybil Allen. You have Erica Castillo. Did I miss anyone? That's all of us, right? And then last but not least, if we don't get in charge or talk to you, you have our interim superintendent, Miss Karen, and what you tell them you need?
26.5.
How much?
26.5.
All right, and I see the superintendent at 27. Yeah, we gonna round it. All right, and then last but not least, I would be wrong if I didn't say this. There are going to be individuals knocking on your doors in a couple months if they haven't already started. And one of them is here tonight, so I want you to please stand up. Please stand up. Please stand up. How much we need?
26.5.
How much we need? Tell them. 27. And he is also running for mayor of the city of Bridgeport. So if you want it, and this is not a plug for him, for you to vote for him. I'm not doing any of that by any means. But I want you to understand there are individuals that want to help change. So if changes needed to be happening, these individuals want to get your vote. You tell them before you cast that vote. You go to him and say, we need how much? 26.5. You have Senator Moore. She's also running for mayor. You tell her that. You tell Mayor Gale, who knows and should know, but who will forever know that Bridgeport education system has been underfunded. You tell him you need how much?
27.5.
And I believe that's all. We have one more candidate. Mr. Lamont Daniels. If you don't know him, get to know him, and you tell him we need. I really want that number to resonate in your minds, please. That is what we need. Advocacy is key. Without advocacy, the politicians will run crazy and they will make up anything and do anything without your say. So as you advocate, as they run for office, as we are sitting in these seats, don't let us get crazy and make decisions. You come up to the meetings, you advocate, you get busloads of individuals. Give you a perfect example and then I'll be quiet. Sorry, I get excited about advocacy. There was a group of students that wanted to get the calendar day Eid added to the calendar, the Bridgeport Board of Education calendar. They packed out a whole room of students, leaders, parents, and they did not let us stop. They emailed us every single day until we heard what they wanted to hear. And they made sure that their voices were heard. And advocacy is important because you have those that make the policy and then you have those that demand the policy. You need those that are demanding the policy to tell the people that are making the policy, don't make nothing without us. Without us. So I'm encouraging you that every person that I mentioned on this paper, we need to tell them how much we need. And one last time, how much do we need?
26.5.
26.5. I hope y'all hear it in y'all sleep tonight. All right, so thank you, and I'm gonna turn it over back to the superintendent.
Thank you, Ms. Brown. So at this time, I just wanted to say, before I open it up to questions, this morning I went to a legislative breakfast for the rest. And the topics of conversation were very important, but at no point in time did anybody bring up what the budgets would be, what that would look like. And the input, they invited legislators from across the state, they invited superintendents. And as I sat there and listened, I said, these things are extremely important and they impact education, but nobody's talking about the money to be able to support them. There was I submitted written testimony today in regards to a bill 6663 that talks about a bill of rights for our EL students. And though it's extremely, extremely, extremely important, nobody's talking about the money that's going to be able to support the bill and all the things that are listed to be able to provide those services to our scholars. And as I said, we've grown by 1,000 and it's only February. So what do? Advocate and ask for 27 million because that's what we're going to need. And we're going to need each and every day. So thank you all for coming out. At this time, we were going to open up for any questions that anyone had. Yes, ma'am.
Who are we going to for the other portion of this 27?
So the other portion comes from the state. Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Can I ask you what the response has been as far as from the state level? With the formula, looking down the road at 2024, we've been looking out of that grant this year. What has been their reaction or answer to?
So they really don't talk too much about what's going to happen after ESSER funds. What they're talking about is this new calculated formula for the ECS saying that we will receive more funds. And we will receive some more funds, but they forget to talk about the repelling of the magnet tuition that's part of that bill, talking about now that we have more ownership for our out-of-district costs in regards to special education. So though we will get more dollars to be able to support, we are losing dollars in other areas that support our essential needs as well, but nobody wants to talk about that.
From the city side, obviously, every year you have a budget presentation, but what has been the conversation prior to them knowing or looking at what your request would be?
Not much as of yet. Not much.
But I just want to tell you, I hear what you're saying, and it leads my heart, because education is the cornerstone. I wouldn't be standing here or sitting here speaking to you in the language I'm speaking, because when I came here, I didn't know English, I didn't have no education. And I went from Columbus School all the way down. I'm not trying to use this as a political forum to talk about me running, just as a parent and having my 4 kids going through the school system. I think there had to be a lot more done prior to where you at, when we're at almost at a crisis point.
Yeah.
And now it's the point that you need to really kind of strengthen that partnership and leadership for whoever may come in. So down the road, we're not facing the certain circumstance that we're facing right now. Because every kid that you leave behind is a future that's never going to be brought back. So I just want to say that, and it's not any political thing that I'm trying to say. I'm just saying that sincerely because I feel what you're going through. Because I walk the hall of these students since Columbus. I applaud you.
Yes.
Number that was there. There's somewhere around 3 million. Yeah.
Yeah, that presentation was, based on the old projections. Now the new governor's budget, we got 2 budgets out, possible budgets out there. The governor's at 3.5 and then ultimate bill that they were talking about, which actually shortchanging is Bridgeport and long. So it will be updated to reflect it, but those are, right now, until the budget's passed, those numbers are not changed.
Okay.
We counted the birds in hand, definitely the 1.5, probably. We can go wait, whatever the new number is, and then. I don't even want to say, hopefully for the next number, because I got to speak a little about 5,003, and its impact on the district. It looks great that we're going to get $13 million. That's until you look at Hartford getting 26 and New Haven getting 24. Something's very, very wrong with those numbers. This is supposed to be accelerated ECS funds, which is a period of 4 or 5 years. So, interestingly enough, I'm supporting the governor's budget this year. While it's less than this 14, we are getting more than Hartford and more of an increase than New Haven. That hasn't happened in a very, very long time. So if in these 2 years we are getting more than Hartford and New Haven, why in the 5 total years are we getting ahead as much as Hartford and New Haven? Something is very wrong with that bill, and it needs to be fixed before it. Yeah.
Thank you.
Mr. Benny, you would like to click on the code up, Mr. Benny?
No, I know everybody can hear me from here. You have to speak to the microphone. It's not a question, but it's a comment. First of all, I feel sad, it's a shame, we don't have our parents here. Because they say before, when it's about other issues, they show up to make like I can say, do a drama. But that's the reason I'm gonna run again as a board member, because I feel I'm not ready to leave yet, because I care about my parents. I care about my students. I care about the staff. I care about the community. And we need to work together as a family. This situation about arguing and fighting and saying, where'd the money go, where'd the money? No, this is the reason we do this. So nobody can complain and say what the board of education is doing, what the board of education do with the money. No, over here, the proof. We never hide nothing. We don't need to hide nothing because everything we do is for our students. But as I say, I'm not gonna give up. And I know we're gonna work together and we need to do the best thing for our students. So I just wanna say that for the record. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Kennedy?
Good evening. I just wanted to ask a question, in reference to the audit that you guys were speaking of not that long ago, are they gonna do a forensic audit? Since Mr. Chestnut left, and prior to that, there hasn't been a forensic audit, an independent of Ms. Eagle and what they do, on a yearly basis or whatever it is. We need to know, when people ask for the money though, they do want to ask the money, where the money goes. If the city council is saying, well, Board of Education, we give them money, we don't know what they do with the money, that's like hot on the kettle black. Because we don't know what they do with their money. And the money that they spend is is questionable. So there's a lot of people here in the city that would like the potential mayor is here, because our mayor also is questionable. Everyone knows, people have to make a decision and see what they're gonna do. And I just need to know from the Board of Education here today, if they're gonna call for a forensic audit. I mean, that's like going into a new business and you don't, I'm buying a business, you don't find out that that old business on old tax. Taxes that, we need out of the house, and you go and buy the house. It's like, come on, when you say transparency, we all know math, it's the Board of Education. People know math, you know what you're supposed to know, you don't know what you don't know, like Bobby said, but find out, ask questions, and questions need to be had. You know what I mean? You don't want this to go on interference if somebody did something prior to her getting in that position. It's not fair for us to keep on going blindly. So, you know,
The chairs. Finance.
First thing to realize that our budget, like you mentioned, is audited every year along with the city budget. The same eyes are on it as the city budget. So for the city to ask us how we spend our money, the same firm audited it along with theirs, so our books up there, their books up there. But the forensic audit, yes, I agree with you, only a forensic audit, it's a little tricky, because a forensic audit is like when you absolutely least expect it. But what I'm proposing in the finance committee is an enhanced audit, which will look at things that the city has to look at by an independent group that's not the one that's used by the city, hopefully, and that's gonna take a board vote, and it's up in the committee as far as the scope of that audit. Ranging from anywhere from $50,000 to $500,000. Excuse me.
I'm sorry, if we're not saying that there is.
Right. Yeah, I just wanted to be clear.
It may be. If you don't do it all, you don't find out.
But the main thing is I feel that, receipt of the work is going to be validated for the most part, and any issues that are found will probably be minor, which we need to find. But the main reason I'm proposing this audit is not because of the board or anything. Our Boston finance team, we've been keeping this district together, that's not taking glue the last 25 years, has done anything wrong. But to reassure the people who are saying we are spending the money wisely, we say this is how we spend the money. Been approved, it's been reviewed. Those are solid. Now you've got to do your part, you have no excuses. Well, then it gets it's got to be approved by the full committee, and then you've got to get approved for more of the significant expenditures. Thank you.
Anyone else? I understand anything that outside people donate the budget. What about hard goods? For example, like a commercial real estate firm or a commercial person who fixes buildings wanted to donate, or somebody in the city who fixes playgrounds wanted to donate, but that still be okay. You just have to take it. Everything gets more materials. Whatever the project like it's like a playground. That's my only question.
Well, if there are no other questions or statements, I'd just like to thank you all for coming out this evening to hear this budget. We will be having another community forum on the same topic. So spread the word. That will be happening on March 2nd at Johnson School. Thank you. I was going to say Clear and I knew that was wrong. Johnson School at 6 p.m. So spread the word so people can come out and hear the same thing that you heard tonight, just louder and more fervent, because we need more. We need $27 million for next year. Thank you.
That's not happening.
Takes the road. Yo, ¿cómo estás? El placer de los buscando por para la gente pobre. Para adelante, para adelante. Yes, good luck, Mr. Evans.
In your butt, sure. Facebook and, also we just Facebook.
Yeah, it's got the website, there's nothing. It's a copy of the computer, you do that. Send the question. I'll send you the time.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.